Because Marda, Yaku, for your benefit, Marda is normally the one who leads us in the way here. And I don't know what I did last time, but
You
apparently it's
volunteered.
me. Did I volunteer? I don't know. Call that, play that recording. I don't remember.
Was that a military volunteer?
No, I didn't force her.
No, we didn't.
I've got it on recording though.
I know. No, anyway, so Yaku, for your benefit, we've been going through Ezekiel, and today we are looking at Ezekiel 5. So, just to recap, in Ezekiel 4, the father tells Ezekiel to lay on his side, on his left side, for 390 days for the house of Israel and all the. Yeah, let me not say what I want to say. No, all the things they did wrong, and then he has to do another 40 days on his right-hand side for the house of Judah. And last time Marta asked me what I got out of Ezekiel 4, and I didn't have an answer, but I do have one now, because the verse that stood out to me is verse 8, where the Father says to Ezekiel, "And see, I shall put cords on you so that you do not turn from one side to another until you have completed the days of your siege." And what that made me realize is when the Father asks us to do difficult things, because imagine lying on your side for 390 days, I mean, I can't sleep on my side for like more than 15 minutes and I've got to turn over, so he's got to lie on his side for 390 days. But what that verse told me is that when the Father asks us to do something difficult, he's going to help us do it. Maybe not in the way we think he should help us. He doesn't take it away from us, but he finds a way to help us through it so that we can carry out his word and his instructions and be obedient. So that was my takeaway from Ezekiel 4.
Can I add to that? Because what you said something beautiful. We want to work for him, and he's got work for us to do, but it doesn't happen in the way that we think. So who of you did today's Torah portion? Where Moses supposed by his own hand, when he killed the Egyptian, he was going to redeem Israel. Did you see that? Because in the book of Acts number 7, it refers back to where Moses killed the Egyptian, where he put up his hand. So in Act 7, it says Moses supposed by his own hand he was going to redeem Israel. But then Israel didn't understand. And then Yahuwah had to do what? Almost like he had to bind him, he had to go train him for 40 years. And then he put a staff in the same hand that he thought he was going to use. Yahuwah put a staff and made him a shepherd and sent him back. So you're going to do the job you're going to do. Whether it's now or 40 years later, but you're going to do it in the way that he wants you to do it.
Yeah. I'm going to read chapter 5. I'm going to read it in its entirety, and then we'll do the deep dive of it, because I just want to remember and be cognizant of the fact that this is our Creator. It's our Father speaking to Ezekiel. So I don't want to interrupt him, but I have a lot of questions. So unless somebody else wants to read. No volunteers. That's fine. I'll read. When you get tired of my voice, let me know. So, Ezekiel 5 from verse 1. "And you, son of man, take a sharp sword, take it as a barber's razor, and you shall pass it over your head and your beard, and you shall take scales to weigh and divide the hair. Burn with fire 1/3 in the midst of the city when the days of the siege are completed. And you shall take 1/3 and strike around it with the sword, and scatter 1/3 in the wind, and I shall draw out a sword after them. And you shall take a few hairs from there, and bind them in the corners of your garment. And take again some of them, and throw them into the midst of the fire, and burn them in the fire. From it a fire shall spread unto the house of Yasharel. This said the Master Yahweh. This is Jerusalem, which I have set in the midst of the nations, with the other lands all around her. But she rebelled against my right rulings, doing wrong more than the nations, and my laws more than the lands all around her. For they have rejected my right rulings, and they have not walked in my laws. Therefore this said the Master Yahweh, because you have rebelled more than the nations all around you, and have not walked in my laws, nor done my right rulings, nor even done according to the right rulings of the nations all around you. Therefore this said the Master Yahweh, Look, I myself am against you, and shall execute judgments in your midst before the eyes of the nations. And I shall do among you what I have never done, and the like of which I never do again, because of all your abominations. Therefore fathers are going to eat their sons in your midst, and sons eat their fathers. And I shall execute judgments among you, and scatter all your remnant to all the winds. Therefore, as I live, declares the Master Yahweh, because you have defiled my set-apart place with all your disgusting matters, and with all your abominations, therefore I also withdraw, and my eye shall not pardon, nor shall I spare. 1/3 of you shall die of pestilence, and be consumed with scarcity of food in your midst, and 1/3 shall fall by the sword all around you. And I shall scatter another third to all the winds, and draw out a sword after them. And my displeasure shall be completed, and I shall bring my wrath to rest upon them, and I shall be eased, and they shall know that I, Yahweh, have spoken it in my ardor, when I have completed my wrath upon them. And I shall make you a waste and a reproach among the nations that are all around you, before the eyes of all who pass by. And it shall be a reproach, an object of scorn, a warning, and an astonishment to the nations that are all around you, when I execute judgments amongst you in displeasure and in wrath and in heated chastisements. I, Yahweh, have spoken. When I send against them the evil arrows of scarcity of food, which shall be for their destruction, which I send to destroy you, I shall increase the scarcity of food upon you, and cut off your supply of bread. And I shall send against you scarcity of food and evil beasts, and they shall bereave you. And pestilence and blood shall pass through you, while I bring the sword against you. I, Yahweh, have spoken. On a surface level for me, what chapter 5 is talking about for me is Yahweh, the Father, is speaking to Ezekiel, and he's explaining what he's going to do to Israel and why he's doing what he's doing. So there's been the siege. Ezekiel's going to lie on his side, his left side, and his right side. Then he's going to do this cutting of the hair and splitting it 3 ways, and these are the things that are going to happen to Israel. Now, on my first reading, my first 3 readings of this, I got really stuck on verse 1. You know, this taking the sword and cutting his hair and his beard, and I was like, what is significant about that? Why does it matter? And because when I think about, say, modern Judaism, and if you look at sort of Orthodox Jews, they have their locks. I don't know what they're called. But hair has a significant...
The corners of your beard.
The corners of your beard, yeah. So they have... so it has significance, but I wasn't entirely certain of what the significance is. But then I went back to...
Can I just help you understand what it means? So the Torah says, you shall
No,
not
hang on.
shave.
No.
Oh, okay, I thought you... Okay.
Here comes. I've got questions. I'll let you know.
Okay.
So, if you go back to Ezekiel 1, right? And it talks about the 30th year and whatever, and it talks about... it's in verse 3, I think it was. The word of Yahweh came expressly to Ezekiel, the priest, the son of Buzi, etc. And it's interesting because there is, in Leviticus, there's reference that the priests are not supposed to cut the corners of their beard or shave their heads. So, Ezekiel is a priest, and my understanding is that sort of from the 30th years when they actually can fully into the priesthood. So he would have been about to go into the priesthood, and now he's being asked to cut his hair. And I find it interesting that nowhere does he argue. He does what is told to him. He doesn't argue about it, but it kind of then
Defeats
his
calling.
His calling. So that was like the first reference to that, is to take the scales and divide the hair. And I thought about this some more because I was like, in my kitchen scale, I can weigh out 1 gram of flour, which is not a large quantity, but it's a little digital scale and it's very accurate. And I'm trying to think, well, they didn't have digital scales in Ezekiel's time, so they would have had weights and measures. How much hair does he have to cut off that he can weigh out 3 parts equally? I would assume that's a fair amount of hair that he has to cut off, the corners of his beard, etc., to be able to split it 3 ways. And the one reference that I found, and it's probably not the one that Marta would have used, but I thought it was an interesting reference of scales and balances, etc., in Proverbs 16 verse 11. It says, a right scale and balances are of Yahweh, all the weights in the bag are his work. So that was one reference I found, and I thought, so I'm assuming Ezekiel's cutting off a lot of hair so that he can actually weigh it on a scale. That's to get that difference. And he's got to divide it equally in thirds. It's not bicky, a handful of everything. He has to be precise. He has to divide it into thirds. Okay. And then he's told what he has to do with the thirds. So 1, he's going to put in the midst of the city. So 1 is going to be burned by fire, 1 is going to be struck around with a sword, and 1 is going to be scattered. And the chapter goes a bit more into depth about what those 3 mean. The verse that stood out to me then in verse 3 is, you shall take a few hairs from there and bind them in the corners of your garment. So what goes in the corners of our garment? And why do we have zitzi? Okay.
Could you just repeat what she said?
To be reminded of.
To be reminded of the commandments. So, okay, so beware the zitzit in the corners. It's to remind us to keep the commands. And Ezekiel is being asked to take a few of those hairs and bind them in the corners of his garment. So to bind them to basically the laws in the Torah. And this then is the remnant.
Well done.
So out of all of these, the thirds going everywhere, this is the remnant. And if you skip a little bit forward to Ezekiel 6 verse 8, he always says, but I shall leave a remnant in that some of you shall escape the sword among the nations where you are scattered throughout the lands. So yeah. Sorry, I'm not.
Oh, well done.
So
that's excellent. Who of you realized that the few hairs in the corner of the garment is the remnant? You did?
Especially since they're bound to the zitzi, it's clearly those few people that are still keeping the laws.
And keeping
or
the
remembering
commands,
the
yeah.
laws,
Okay.
It'd be interesting to know is how do they define a few hairs? How many is a few?
Well, in the time of Elijah, the whole Israel was on Mount Carmel. The entire Israel. According to Elijah, there was nobody but him. He said to Yahweh in the mountains, I alone am left. All of Israel is worshipping Baal, and now Jezebel wants to kill me, and blah, 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 the whole thing. And then what did Yahweh say? I have a remnant of, well done, 7,000. So 7,000 compared to the entire country is a few.
Is a few.
Narrow is the road.
How many were found worthy at the time of Noah?
Yeah,
And there's a few.
there's a few.
That's too scary.
Okay.
Do you want to say anything else about hairs?
Oh, I've got a lot to say. But let finish first, and then maybe if you want, we can go verse by verse, and I'll just tell you about some other verses and then beautiful pictures.
Okay. So
There's something about all of this we have to remember. We are not reading history. If it's purely history, then it's boring. It's got
No.
nothing to do with us.
No, well, my understanding is also that what happens in Ezekiel, or what he talks about right about, is mirrored again in Revelation.
Oh, well done.
So
Wat is uitbrei? Expand on that. Just a little.
I don't know how to expand on it.
Tell them why you think what's happening to Ezekiel, what Jehovah is commanding him to do. Why is it prophetic, and why is it repeat? What of that is repeated in Revelation?
So the one thing that I know that is repeated in Revelation is verse 17 talks about, and I shall send a scarcity of food and evil beasts, and I shall bereave you, and pestilence and blood shall pass through you while I bring the sword against you. Right? And the reference that I have is, let me find it, Revelation, I think it's 6 verse 8.
It is.
And I looked and saw a green horse, and he who sat on it had the name Death, and Sheol followed him. And authority was given to them over a fourth of the earth to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and by the beasts of the earth. So that's the reference that
No, it's
I
very
have.
good, because remember when we did Ezekiel 1, we looked at the four creatures, and we compared that to the four horsemen.
Yeah.
And then we saw specifically the famine, the sword, the beasts, and the pestilence. And we saw it repeated over and over and over again through Scripture, and then especially in Revelation.
Okay.
And in many parts of Revelation, a third part is destroyed. A third part of the rivers, a third part of the ocean. So it's also a third.
Okay.
So he couldn't make a mistake with his weighing of balances.
No.
Because Jehovah wanted a third part of the ocean to become blood. And now he made a calculation error in his weighing. And now Jehovah says, well, I wanted a third part of the ocean, but now because it's prophetic actions.
Mm-hmm.
And the mountain comes down, burns a third of the people.
Yes. So this is not just Old Testament rubble about the siege of Babylon. Because everything is repeating cycles. So what happened here in Babylon, but it's repeated in Revelation.
All the prophets,
With everything.
everything. But for me, the fact that they've used the scales specifically means that there's justice, there's law.
Yes.
So when you talk about scales in the Bible, it's about justice.
It's about judgment.
Judgment.
Weighing the scales,
Judgment and
yeah.
justice.
Oh, just scales and right rulings, yeah.
Now, there's one thing Jehovah hates is an unbalanced scale.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what that means. Unbalanced scale. Anybody who doesn't know what it means? Okay.
I lost my train of thought for a second.
Forgive me. Forgive me.
No. We'll come back. As we go. Always does.
Okay.
Oh, here it was. We all think because it was ancient times that things were more rustic than they are today.
Mm.
Like the scales.
Yeah.
My personal belief is no, I think they were way ahead of us in every level. On every level.
Okay.
I agree with that. They were way ahead of us on every level. Evolution teaches we came from being very stupid and now we are very clever.
They were cleverer than us.
They were more
We are
clever.
learning. We're just like babies in diapers.
We are reversed. We've evolved in the reverse.
Devolved.
We've devolved.
Yeah. It's the fluoride in the water.
Onder andere, yeah. But also the wickedness. Because the Torah of Yahuwah, he created everything, heaven and earth, the plants, the oxygen. He created everything with his words. So his Torah keeps everything in place. The New Testament says Yeshua keeps everything in place because Yeshua is the word of God. But now people are rejecting the word of God. So what is keeping everything in place? Because everyone's rejecting the word of Yah. So things are devolving, things are degenerating, things are going downhill, not becoming better. So I agree with you.
I also think that their diet was better because if you look at the mineral content of food or the bricks content of food, it's significantly lower now than it was 200 years ago. So they were eating far better than us, and what you eat directly affects every single aspect of your personality and your life and your body, absolutely everything. So they were eating like high level nutrition, and we have to drink a smoothie to get a little bit of the way there.
Very true.
There was not much contamination.
No, I don't think there was any contamination. What
And
contamination
there
was
were
there?
vaccines and all of those
Yeah.
things also. For
No
It's
farming.
very
animals
weird.
and whatever.
No vaccines, no pesticides, no genetically modification dust. So no
No
nothing.
plowing of fields on a massive level. Everything was retained.
And the blood was let out onto the ground when they had to slaughter. So all that minerals went back into the ground. Yeah.
Okay. Right. And so, continuing then from, I think from verse 5 to verse 10, the Father explains why he's doing this to Israel. And it's not just because they have sinned. Because we all sin, we all fall short. And we know that the way to correct that, for lack of a better term, is to repent, to teshuva, to turn away from sin and turn back to the Father. But Israel here hasn't just sinned. They didn't just make a mistake. They are actively practicing abominations. They are so lawless. They don't even keep the laws of the pagan nations around them. That's how lawless they are. They have fallen so far from that. And I must confess, like, it's very tempting on my part to think, well, I'm doing better than Israel, but I don't think I always am. Because I don't think I don't always realize perhaps where I'm falling short. And so maybe it's a bit more personal than a Bible study, but I think, it's hard sometimes to see the flaws in oneself. I read this a couple of times in like all 15 minutes this morning, Marta. On the one hand, it's like they are so terrible. I'm doing better because, I keep Sabbath. I don't eat pork. Look at me. I'm reading my word. I'm doing fellowship. I'm doing so much better than Israel. But I think just my own personal reminder is that these are people who knew the Father intimately, who knew him, who knew for a fact he existed. I mean, I can imagine, I don't speak for everyone around here, but I think for most of us at some point we might have had just even a little speck of doubt and go, does he exist? Doesn't he? They knew. They knew for a fact. They knew for a fact that they had all of their prophets and their priests to tell them. They had the whole story of Moses. They knew. And yet they fall so short, and then they don't just like mess up a little bit. They go to the other. They go to such extremes that the Father says, if you read this, like a third's going to die of pestilence, a third's going to be chopped about with a sword. So 2/3 are going to be destroyed, gone, done. The other third is going to be scattered to the winds and is going to be pursued. They're not, there's no rest for the wicked is the expression that came to my mind there. And it's only a very few, that little remnant that keep to the Torah. That's the only ones that seem like, even the ones who are being exiled and scattered to the winds, they're going to be persecuted. So it's not an easy time. And here he is. The Father is like saying 2/3 are basically going to be destroyed. And this is where Marta can jump in. Because verse 9, sorry. I was trying to understand this because I thought back to with Noah and the flood. We know the story of the flood, and then the Father said, here's the rainbow, here's the symbol of my promise that I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to destroy my creation again. But yet in verse 9 he talks about, and he says, I shall do among you what I have never done, and the like of which I never do again, because of all your abominations. And I was like, well, how is that? And I don't have the answer here, but I was like, it came to me to the flood. So he said, he's never going to do that again. Yet here he is just 2/3 of his chosen people are going to be wiped out, and the other third is going to be scattered to the winds and pursued and persecuted. And I don't know what to make of that verse
I think
yet.
if you go to chapters 8 and 9, where they start showing you what the priests are doing in the temple and who they're worshipping.
Yeah.
And the human sacrifice and
Yeah.
It's no different today. There's child trafficking, it's human sacrifice, they're cannibalistic.
Adrenochrome,
Yes.
satanic ritual abuse.
Yeah. And then it happened again at the time of Yeshua, because when Yeshua arrived, they knew exactly who he was. And they decided to slaughter him anyway. And they knew the repercussions of that, but they did it anyway. They said it was better to slaughter one man, but they knew who he was. They knew he was the Son. So there's that element that has come through all the way along from the Chaldean era, probably pre-Noah, that's had this cult.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't, the word abominations is used, not
Very
sin,
heavy.
you know.
Your answer is in the next verse.
Yeah.
This thing that he will do, he hasn't done up to this point, where the holy people who's keeping kosher will do the next thing. So there's your answer.
Yeah, but they keep kosher, but they drink blood.
Sure, but he is going to cause them to now, because he didn't tell them to drink blood. He told them to not drink blood.
Correct.
But now he's going to do a thing to this wife, this holy wife that's supposed to keep kosher, to keep herself holy and clean. He's going to force her into doing the abominable thing, because her abominations, like you said, is to such an extreme. So your question was, you're not sure what this thing is that he has never done and that he will not do again. It's the thing in the next verse.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And the next verse then talks about, therefore fathers are going to eat their sons in your midst, and sons eat their fathers. And there's a couple of other references.
Can I disagree with you there, Marta?
Sure.
Go to 2 Kings.
I'm getting there.
All right. Sorry, go first.
Yes, give a girl a
A
chance.
break.
So, where is it?
2 Kings 6.
Yep, I know. In 2 Kings 6, from verse 28, and the sovereign said to her, what is troubling you? And she answered, this woman said to me, give your son, and let us eat him today, and tomorrow we eat my son. So we cooked my son and ate him. And I said to her on the next day, give your son, and let us eat him. But she had hidden her son. So,
It had been happening in the past.
yeah.
Yeah, but maybe not to the extreme that he's going to force it at the time of Ezekiel.
So let me ask you, when did this happen in 2 Kings? What was the circumstances? Do you know?
So,
The siege.
Yeah.
I can't remember who was besieging
Syrian.
them.
The king of Assyria
Hmm?
besieged Israel, Samaria.
Hmm?
So remember, the king of Assyria took to exile the 10 tribes of the house of Israel, and the king of Babylon also besieged Jerusalem and took to exile the house of Judah. So both houses were under the same curse, where Jehovah said, in these sieges, because you don't want to stop your abominations, you'll do cannibalism.
So what you're saying is in the first one it's Israel, and here it's now Judah.
Because for both the house of Judah and the house of Israel, Ezekiel had to lie on his sides.
Yeah.
So the prophecy encompasses both houses.
Okay.
So both houses only ate their children or whatever during the siege that Yahuwah warned them about.
Okay.
Do you see that?
So they ate their children, all their sons, because there was no food.
Yes.
Because,
The same with this woman. It was during the siege that if you look at the king over Israel and then the king over Judah, you'll see that it's during the apartheid, separate sieges. Yeah.
Okay, so what's different now when there's all these stories that we are eating stem cells or drinking stem cells in commercial foods?
But that's exactly the thing, because nothing is new under the sun.
And it's gonna get there's a food scarcity and you're gonna eat all of those
Well, they're
things.
trying already to
No,
take bodies from
it's
wars
worse
and
than that.
put it through butchers.
Not even through a famine, the abominations. Because he's speaking to his people, and we said, what does it help for us to study history if it's got no relevance to us? So, number one, you read this, then you start looking, where's the cannibalism? Where are we now eating or drinking our own children? So, the stem cells in the vaccines, it's a proven fact. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of Jews and a lot of Muslims, and then of course us Messianics, didn't take that vaccine. And then we're not even talking, I mean, how long is it now that I haven't eaten McDonald's? I'm not saying
No,
anything.
but it's only once in America, not here.
I'm just saying that, you know, there's so much going on in terms of food labels.
Yeah.
Once you know what the food label mean and you read it, you say, oh my word, and it's going to become worse and worse and worse. Why? And the same with pig, with swine. You think there's no swine, it's got a halal mark, and you read this chemical composition, it's got pork in it. The problem is they have to defile humanity because their ultimate fight is against Yahuwah. So the more people they can defile, the more people, because pork and cannibalism, those things, is not just physical defilement, it's got a huge spiritual aspect. If you look at the abomination of desolation, it was a pig. Could have been any animal, but it was a pig that was slaughtered in the main house. So this is repeating again in our times. Absolutely.
If our bodies are the temple and we're eating pork, abomination of desolation in the temple.
They're defiling the temple.
Well done. Because at the end of the day, every time Dick and Harry thinks he knows what the abomination of desolation is. So there needs to be, because Ezekiel tells you the abomination, and Jeremiah and all those people. And it was us who did it. His own people. It wasn't the pagans. But the abomination of desolation in the most holy place. What is the most holy place? The sanctuary. But the Bible also said, it's our bodies. So when both those things happen, by the time the actual abomination of desolation sits in the most holy place, by that time, the temple must all have the abomination of desolation inside. So that genetic changes on the inside. That makes you an abomination that will cause desolation, separation between you and Yahuwah. That's why it says when you take the mark of the beast, you can no longer be saved. Because you have been changed.
You see, if you look at food physiologically,
You speak a little bit louder.
if you look at food physiologically, it breaks down. You are what you eat because it gets used in your DNA. Your DNA replicates itself all the time. And those components, depending which ones you get, can last from 3 to 9 months in your DNA. That's just from food. It's not like the vaccine.
Yeah, the vaccines is messenger RNA. It's called an mRNA vaccine. So once that mRNA goes into your DNA, that mRNA gives the message and changes the DNA.
And that's permanent.
And then it becomes unrecognizable to Yahuwah when he comes back. No flesh and blood will inherit, but still, we have to remain genetically pure, like Noah. Noah was the only one that was pure in his genetics, when everybody else was mixed.
Which is why we must get out the cities. Because then we control what we eat.
But of course, it's also very spiritual. You can have somebody there living on the mountain, eating absolutely clean, but he's mixing Babylon in his understanding of creation or whatever. Which is worse? They're both exactly the same. Everything is physical and spiritual on an equal level. Because there are many people, many atheists, who do not take the vaccine, who's not going to take the chip, who's not going to take the digital, who's not going to take none of this.
They eat clean.
They eat clean, very clean.
Even the Satanists, apparently.
Many of them. But yet they are mixed to the utmost. and they will end up being destroyed. That's why my people perish for a lack of knowledge, because they reject the Torah. Those who keep the Torah and understand the testimony of Yeshua are the only ones that will actually be the little remnant, because we hide where?
In his bosom.
Well, according to our piece today, where does the remnant hide?
Corner of the garment.
Corners of the garments, where the tzitzit are. What is corners of the garment? Can I quickly do this? What is the corners of the garment in Hebrew? Does anyone know? The Hebrew word is kanaf. Have you heard kanaf? What have you heard about kanaf? Can you remember?
Doesn't?
Hmm?
No, hang on.
Under the
Wings.
of the
Wings,
mother.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wings.
So kanaf is used for the corners of the garments as well as for wings. So the tabernacle has corners of the tent. That's called wings, called kanaf. The robe has got the corners, ne? It's called wings, it's called kanaf. How many times did Yahuwah say in the Old Testament? I will gather you under my wings, under my kanaf.
Yeah.
And Malachi 4, for you who fear the name of Yahuwah, the Son of Righteousness will rise with healing in his wings. Where did the woman that was unclean for 12 years with the blood flow, where did she want to grab? The kanaf, the wings, the tzitzit.
Yeah.
So those of us who understand the testimony of Yeshua and keep the Torah, we are like this woman of 12 years uncleanness. We grab the tzitzit, and when you grab the tzitzit, you must be there so that his robe, his wings, his garment, his tent can cover you. And that's why you go into the secret place of Psalm 91. For those who fear my name and love my name, you come into the secret place. In the darkness of the secret place, where's the secret place dark? In the most holy place, because you are under his wings.
And the other translation, pavilion, means a shelter.
It's a shelter.
Yeah.
Psalm 91 has got the whole Bible.
The pestilence is outside. But under his wings, if you're under the tabernacle wings, then the cloud is above you, manna falls, he gives you water, but you mustn't have a heart that wants to turn back to Egypt.
Okay. Staying with verse 10 then, if you go to Lamentations 4 verse 10, it says, the hands of the compassionate woman have boiled their own children. They have become food for them in the destruction of the daughter of my people. Yahweh has completed his wrath. He has poured out his burning displeasure, and he has kindled a fire in Zion, and it consumed her foundations. So there was another reference to cannibalism. I'm just thinking about it now, and I'm just trying to imagine. And I say this as somebody who doesn't have my own biological children. You know. No, but I mean, how bad and how desperate do things get where you think it's okay to eat your kids?
Yeah. I think you're crazy.
Yeah, because honestly, I'll die of
never
death.
get so hungry.
I'll die before I eat my child.
Myself, you know?
Yeah.
But
you,
yet
you
they-
love your children like nothing.
But yet they get there.
No.
Apparently.
Look at abortion.
It's so
The
easy.
Valley of Hinnom.
Yeah, but once that baby is born and he's in your arms and he grows up in little face, you can never eat your own baby.
Yeah, but they're doing worse abominations
Than
than the
the
nations,
pagans.
and the nations are sacrificing their children to Moloch.
Mm.
Which
So-
is the abortion clinic, because they incinerate it.
I know, but I mean that's what they're already doing. That's why he's turned against them. you know?
Yeah, but they were sacrificing their children to Moloch and he was eating them.
Yeah,
This is about eating.
I know.
So, what did the pagans do in terms of eating? When did they eat other people? Whether it's their own children or whatever.
Their sacrifices, their feasts.
Their feasts and their sacrifices, and also when they were in war. What did they do? They cut out the heart. And then they ate the heart. Why?
They did.
Sorry?
They did.
Yeah. Why did they do that?
It's very spiritual.
Because then you got the power of the one you defeated.
Think about the, yes, especially if you look at the Red Indian ideology, the because that's the only one we really get told about. But it's in all the cultures. Look at the blacks with the Muti killings. It's the same.
Mm.
Okay.
You're grossed out now.
No, I'm not grossed. No, I just it really.
That's extremely wicked. And the fact of the matter, it's happening now. So some of us are very, very bad conspiracy theorists, and you watch a lot of movies and you read a lot of books, and the stuff that's happening at in the passages below the royal palace and the castles and the royal bloodlines. You must remember the royal Nephilim bloodlines, the rulers of the world and the kings of the earth. The Nephilim lived for much longer than normal humans, but they had to be sustained. Remember, in the book of Enoch, it says the land could no longer sustain. There wasn't enough food. So what did they do? They started eating and drinking the blood and eating the people and whatever. And that gives them. So let's not go into too much of a conspiracy, but there's a reason. In America, 1.2 million children go missing of what they know once every year. Of what they know. That's not about the children that they don't know. Where do they all go? What happens to them? And now you understand the pagan rituals and the gods of the universe and how these people have their strength and why they need a lot of these things. But you have to read those books. It's difficult to explain. Then you can understand they need a huge amount of sustenance, which is, that's why Yahweh says life is in the blood. They drink the blood. They get the life. No.
I've heard, look, I don't know where you get the figure of 1.2. I've heard figures of 800,000, but okay, 800,000, 1.2. How many beds are there for trafficked children in America?
How many what?
How many beds do they have to look after children, trafficked
That are
children
rescued.
that are rescued?
Oh.
Beds.
Yeah.
Beds.
So somewhere
Yeah.
for them to sleep, somewhere for them to stay and
Be looked after.
looked after. Like less than 500, let's say 480. I think 483 something was the figure. So they're not really cared about trafficked children.
Not at all.
They're doing it themselves. It's like the drug lords. They catch the drug lords, but what happens to the drugs? America goes and sells it and put it on the streets. Governments.
Have you ever read the Royal Drug Syndicate? You don't know how all the wars and a lot of things has been financed. Opium wars. Who benefited most of the opium wars? So the Queen of England. You catch the drug lord.
Which queen?
The Queen of England.
The most recent one, Elizabeth
Victoria.
II.
No. Before the whole Queen bloodline.
Okay, wow.
Because there's many reasons for that. So they'll catch the small-time drug donkey and lord and use it. Oh, you've been caught at the airport with a small amount of little bit of drugs. You're in big trouble.
But that
But
just
they-
drives the price of the drugs up.
But they ship tons and tons. The CIA and all these. You need to read these books. These guys are not just spewing conspiracies. They show you facts.
But human trafficking is much worse than drugs.
Much worse.
Because drugs you sell once. That kid, I think they say on average, they sell them like 16 times a day.
That's the
Same
kids
kid.
that goes for sex trafficking.
Yeah.
But the kids that has to be used for consumption, they have to be undefiled.
Sure.
So
Okay.
so they actually
But there's
use
both.
them immediately.
Yeah.
That's why they need such a continuous supply. And again, they've made these movies, and this guy that played Yeshua in Passion of the Christ, and he made this lovely movie, but he also poses for his pictures with his one eye and whatever. So they are making everybody so passionate to catch these child traffickers, and then they catch a little one here and a little one there, and they open up a whole syndicate there. But the real culprits are never caught.
Staying silent.
So the real culprits are running the government.
They are running these so-called operations. But anyway,
Well, a couple of years ago, the figure for South Africa was 45 kids under 5 every day.
Well, South
Under
Africa is
5.
one of the big ones of the world.
Yeah.
And they're Cape Town.
And that's also the people that's also the figures that they know of. So 45 kids, you can imagine, that's a kindergarten school.
Per day.
Well, there's those, the children of Bear Island, or what's Bird Island, what's it? The coast of the Cape. And those were high-ranking South African government people involved. Yeah, no? Anyway,
So have you ever seen Epstein Island? What does it look like?
it's like a temple. The
Disney
blues and the
Blue
whites.
and white. Have you ever seen Disney's Palace?
Yeah.
Exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
Entire Disney. And have you ever seen Nickelodeon? It's also a children's channel where they give you children's programs like Disney
They just
Channel.
programming the children.
So have you seen Nickelodeon's logo? It looks like a splash of yellow, orange jelly or something. If you look at the shape of that splash, it's exactly the shape of Epstein Island. Just a coincidence.
Back
Anyway.
to Ezekiel.
Back to Ezekiel.
Yeah, I'm not sure what more I need to, what more to say about Ezekiel. Because the things that I looked at so far and referenced were the things that kind of stood out to me, and the references that I could find. And I know I've missed some.
Sure.
Others, so.
So
By all means,
let's look at a bit more references.
let me get my pen so I can make
That was
notes.
good, Tracy. Well done.
Thank you.
Very good. So let's go again and dig a little bit deeper.
Please.
Ezekiel 5 verse 1. You son of man, take a sharp knife, take a barber's razor, and cause that to pass upon your head and upon your beard. Then take you balances to weigh and divide the hair. So like you said, he was a priest, and now his hair is cut. So he can no longer serve as a priest. Why does Yahuwah want to stop him to serve as a priest? Because he cannot serve as a priest now. What's happening in the temple right now? In the next chapters? The
all the
biggest
abominations,
abominations. So Yahuwah doesn't want his prophet to go into that temple anyway. Number one. Number two, what happens to you in biblical times? And a lot of us men, you are doing that. Your hair is not shaven and you've got your beards. So we are returning back to that. So what happens if now, especially in biblical times, if you are shaven, bald, your beard, your hair, everything's gone?
I know of two. You either get shaved completely in shame, or at the completion of your Nazirite vow.
Let's look at shame first.
Okay.
Okay.
But don't ask me for the reference. I don't know.
I've got the reference. Well done. That's all that it's about, is for you to bring the puzzle pieces all over Scripture together with this specific passage. So well done. Why was it a shame?
Because you were told not to in Leviticus.
Yeah, you were told not to shave. And if the whole Israel community has got beautiful hair and beards, and now you come,
Everyone knew.
yeah.
Everyone knew
So
that.
let's look at one reference that Tracy was talking about. It's shame. That's in 2 Samuel 10 verse 4. If you can find it quickly, then you can read for us.
John?
2 Samuel 10 verse 4.
Die lig aan sy-
Ja, asseblief.
Let there be light.
For what you know.
And for the nations who sat in darkness, a light came on.
I brought my headlamp, but I think I left it in the car because I knew it was going to be dark in here. Sorry, 2,
Samuel
10 verse
4.
4.
A little bit. Thank you.
So Hanun took David's servants and shaved off half of their beards and cut off their garments in the middle as far as their buttocks and sent them away. So you strip naked, in other words, when you take your hair away.
Yeah, it's an absolute shame. It's like what do they say? Uncovering the skirt. You know what that means? It's when they see your nakedness. We got naked in the Garden of Eden, and we were ashamed, and we were afraid, so we went to hide. So it's like uncovering, making bald, taking away that which covers you. So
If their buttocks were not covered by shorts, they were not allowed into the temple.
yeah, so it's the buttocks. When your buttocks are exposed, you're going to be ashamed. You're not going to walk around down, Dolstra Main Road or whatever. For them, having their beards and their heads shaved was the same shame as having their buttocks exposed. So you were right, it's very shameful. Ezekiel is taking upon himself the shame that Judah and Israel doesn't even feel. Because what they're doing is making them ashamed before Yahuwah. Your father catches you doing something horrible. You are immediately ashamed. Is Judah and Israel ashamed?
No.
Poor Ezekiel, he's carrying everything. But there's a deeper mystery. When else are you shaving?
When you complete your Nazarite vow.
You complete your Nazarite vow. And what is the Nazarite vow?
There's different things you can.
What
You're
is
allowed to
the
shave your hair? You can't eat grapes. You can't. Drink
all those
wine,
things? But
yes.
what is the Nazarite vow for?
I think, as far as I understand, you can choose a thing, or you can do the whole hog.
No, but I think it's
To achieve
it's
something.
to bring you closer to the Father.
Well, is that your opinion, or do you have a verse for that? So specifically, the Bible says if you do the Nazarite vow, this is basically what you are saying to Yahuwah and to the world. You are right. It's to come closer to Him, but it specifically says if you want to devote yourself fully to Yahuwah, you go through that Nazarite vow. It's absolutely beautiful. And then when you're done, you do shave off everything, and you take. It's very expensive. It's one of the most expensive rituals that you can go through. So you then take your hair plus your whole array of sacrifices to the priest, and then all those things are burnt. So the hair as well is burnt. Then they grow it again. But you walk around with your hair bald. Everyone knew you did a Nazarite vow. Everyone looks at you, and number one, you went through a whole period of drinking wine and all those things. You are devoted. You have devoted all this time to Yahuwah. And now while your hair is growing back, you are devoting yourself to Him. And everybody can see the witness of that. You've really sacrificed a lot, and it's very expensive. So Ezekiel, so simultaneously you've got the shame and you've got devotion portrayed by the bare head. But there's another one. So when you find a Gentile wife, when you've made war with another nation. Yeah?
When you're unclean. Or what?
Unless you've got a verse.
You can have
You have to shave your hair and stuff.
You find a Gentile wife that you like and you want to bring her into your tent, but you cannot do that. You have to give her 30 days to mourn. And in that 30 days, you cut off her nails and you cut off her hair.
Yeah.
Just in case there's lice, No, it's much more than that, because it's about the Gentile wife, the Gentile bride. Oh, you guys must please try to do that Bible study on YouTube. The Gentile bride. It's under online studies. It's extremely beautiful. It's how he takes the house of Israel, like the hair, he scattered into all the nations, and we become Gentile. And now he finds us attractive. He's calling us. He's luring us into the wilderness. He's trying to get us back into covenant with him. So when we come, we need time to get out of our paganism, the 30 days before he can actually take her into his tent. But you have to cut off your disgusting pagan temple prostitute nails. Doesn't say long nails is wrong. We discussed it in all that. There's many examples. And then the hair, because the hair and the nails makes a woman beautiful. But it also, in the pagan world, it makes her lustful. And he wants you to leave all that behind. And you start a clean, new, fresh start with him. But we go into much more detail in that. So when you take everything regarding cutting off the hair and burning it and whatever, then this becomes really deep. As Ezekiel is lying there, he knows all those references. So what goes through his mind? What was he telling and prophesying about? You guys know this. It's a Nazarite vow. Look at me. I'm showing you this. But you know also it's a shame. And he's trying to get Israel and Judah to come back. They see all this. Years later, the siege happens and the people start eating each other. Who of them remembered all the lessons that Ezekiel gave them? Acts 18, verse 18.
And Paul, having stayed several days more, having taken leave of the brothers, was sailing for Syria, and Priscilla and Aquilus were with him, having shaved his hair at, I can't pronounce that, Kenria, for he had taken a vow.
You see, that's exactly what you said. He shaved his hair because he had taken a vow, and when he came to the end of his vow, the Jerusalem council told him, take the sacrifice for you and 4 other people that also did the vow, and go to the temple and sacrifice and pay for their sacrifices. So he had to pay like 5 years worth of salary to show all of Judah that you are not against the Torah. Beautiful. What is the church teaching about that? Oh, no. Paul was a hypocrite. He just did that. It cost him a hell of a lot of money, but he just did that because the Jerusalem council said, just show the Jews you are keeping the Torah, but actually you're not, because we are free from the law. The Christians don't have to do that, but just so that the Jews think you are still keeping the Torah, just go and do that. That's not what he did. He did the Nazarite vow according to the Torah. Then he brought the sacrifices according to the Torah. And he was willing to pay for all these other people because he wanted to show Jew and Gentile his commitment to the Torah and to devotion to Yahweh. Numbers 6 verse 18.
And the Nazarite shall shave the head of his separation at the door of the tent of appointment, and shall take the hair from the head of his separation, and put it on the fire, which is under the slaughter place of the peace offerings.
And you see here, Ezekiel had to shave his hair and also put it in the midst of the city of Jerusalem and burn it. Very similar. And he also had to bring the head to the entrance of the temple. Here, Ezekiel was lying on his one side and then the other side, and he had to bolt the siege like little Play-Doh toys, and he had to put that silver iron sheet or iron pan at the entrance of Jerusalem, which is at the east, because the entrance to the temple is at the east. So all these similarities. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, Hosea 4 verse 7.
The iron also symbolizes God cutting himself off from Israel. Here's my prophet. He now has this iron between him and Israel. So I'm cutting myself off from Israel.
With iron bars almost like. And there's one place where Yahweh says, I write the sins of Judah with an iron pen.
So what is the reference?
Hosea 4 7. Hosea,
Hosea.
not Isaiah.
Sorry, I heard Isaiah.
I also
And I was like,
Isaiah.
but it doesn't sound right, but I think it's okay.
Hosea or Isaiah?
Ho.
Okay, I'm
Isaiah.
Ja, this one's lekker hard.
Okay.
A man that had to marry a prostitute.
Verse 4
4 verse 7.
7. Only 7.
Mm.
As they were increased, so they sinned against me. My esteem they have changed into shame.
So what's supposed to be beautiful? You know, the Nazarite system, the taking of the Gentile bride, the men in 2 Samuel, that was David's mighty men. All these beautiful things of Yahuwah, they've taken and they've made it into shame. Taking Babylon's priests, that's why he cut his hair. You can no longer mix with those priests. The Bible says, Babylon's priest has taken that which was holy and made it an abomination. Right. Verse 2. You will burn with fire a third part in the midst of the city. So taking that to Revelation, we see, like you read, a third part is destroyed. And even in Jerusalem, a third part, and there's an earthquake, and eventually the whole of Jerusalem is destroyed, just like it was destroyed here. But it says in verse 5, this is Jerusalem. So these hairs, take the hairs upon your head. The hairs is Jerusalem. All right? This is Jerusalem that I have set in the midst of the nation. So everything that is talking about here with the hair is Jerusalem. Okay. What is Jerusalem? Is it the Jews? Is it all of Israel? Because remember, we are reading history, so it's got nothing to do with us, ne?
No.
Or it's got everything to do with us. How does it have everything to do with us? How are we this hair? If we are part of them, if we are one nation. And this hair is Jerusalem.
Because we are part of Israel.
Yes, we are part of Israel.
The 12,
The 12 tribes, where the 10 and the 2 must be restored into one nation. Because the New Jerusalem has only 12 gates. So talking about Israel and Judah and talking about Jerusalem, we know it's also applicable to us. So we are not reading boring old dead history. And as Tracy said in Revelation, all of this is repeated. A third part will die by famine. A third part will die by the sword. A third part will die by the fire, is it not? And a third part will be scattered. Hasn't that happened? Hasn't he scattered? Aren't we supposed to be regathered and become part of God's Jerusalem again? Oh, I, John, saw the new Jerusalem coming out of heaven like a bride adorned for her husband. All right. So a third part is burnt with fire, and a third part with a knife, and a third part scattered. You will also take a few number and bind them in your skirts. And we looked at, Tracy realized that is the remnant that is bound in the kanaf, in the wings of our Father. And then take them again and cast them into the midst of the fire and burn them in the fire. Thereof shall a fire come forth into all the house of Israel. House of Israel is the northern 10 tribes, scattered into the 4 corners of the earth, into the Gentile nations. Are we the house of Israel?
part.
Yes, we-
You say we're part of it. What does the rest of you say?
we only grafted in.
We grafted in.
Yeah, we're not. We're part of them, but we grafted.
So the house of Israel must be grafted back together with the house of Judah to become the nation of Jacob, or the nation of Israel again. But the house of Judah did not become Gentile and is not scattered into the 4 corners of the earth. The house of Israel is. How do you know you are grafted into the house of Israel? How do you know you can now call yourself Israel? What do you think? I'll give you 2 beautiful verses. Now, what do you think? What right do you have as a Gentile dog and a prostituting idol? Because we all worship before Christmas trees. I bowed before a Christmas tree. What right do I have to call myself part of God's holy people?
Receive the scraps under the table.
One of the things, the Canaanite woman. I will not take the bread, because Yeshua says the bread's for the children. And she said, I don't care. I'm a dog. I'll eat the scraps off the table, because the Gentiles are called dogs. Judah, the Jews, are calling everybody who's not a Jew dogs. Even if you keep Sabbath, how do you dog dare keep our Sabbath? The Sabbath is not for, it doesn't belong to the Jews, it belongs to the Creator. And we are Ephraim, and of course you all know by now, the Jews don't recognize Ephraim. They think magically 10 tribes just poof, disappeared. Okay, the 2 verses that I want to tell you about. Number 1, don't go there. Isaiah 44 talks about those that are scattered and that's dying of thirst in the wilderness. There'll come a time in the last days that Jehovah will pour his water upon them, and he will send his spirit after them, and they will shoot up like tender plants, and they will call themselves by the name of Jacob and surname themselves by the surname of Israel. Have you read that?
I think we do, but we don't necessarily take the note of it.
Oh, it's amazing. Because when Ephraim was blessed, Jacob said, on Ephraim, because Ephraim is the one that was scattered into the nations. The house of Israel is called the house of Ephraim, or the house of Joseph. He was separated from his brothers, and he said, on Ephraim will be the name of my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, and upon him I'll put my name. He didn't put it on Reuben, the firstborn, or on Joseph, or on Judah. He put it on Ephraim. That's why the 10 tribes is called the house of Israel. Right? Yeshua said, I came only for the Lost sheep
Israel.
of the house of Israel. So as Christian, you read that and you have no idea what it means. Well, it came for the lost sheep, basically. House of Israel doesn't exist. Jews and Christians
And
think
lost sheep in the Christian world is what?
the lost sheep.
It's like you're not bowing before the Christmas tree, you're not going to church on Sunday, you're lost.
No, everyone in the Gentile world is lost.
Yeah, but
How do you know you are Israel? Shema Israel. If you Shema, you are Israel. If you don't Shema, you are not Israel. Even if you love him, and even if you're a good person, right? Only those who Shema. Shema means listen and obey. Torah and prophets. So when you obey him and you turn back to his covenant, then you can claim that your name is Israel and your surname is your name is Jacob and your surname is Israel. Isn't it beautiful? When was Jacob's name changed? When he came out of Laban, out of those Babylonian countries, and he crossed over the Yabok River and he came back into the promised land. That's when Jacob became Israel. So when Yahweh looks at you, he needs to see Jacob Israel. You need to be grafted back into the olive tree, not in the pagan Christmas tree. Oh, Christmas tree. All right. So basically at the end of the day, the fire come into the house of Israel. No wonder that the Jews think the house of Israel, the 10 tribes, are poof, gone. Because it looks like Yahuwah destroyed them. He said there will be none left. It will be desolate. The foxes will just be all over the place. There will be nothing. And yet, from every tribe, nation, and tongue. That's the mystery of the fullness of the Gentiles. Let's continue. So verse
Can I say something about
sure.
fire? Well, this comes not from me, obviously, but from, I don't know if any of you watched the last podcast, but the last one or whatever, it was very interesting. So this lady's doing a study on Revelation, but for children. And maybe we're all children. But she talked about fire and how Yah is always represented as fire, like the burning bush or the flaming tongues that come down with the Holy Spirit. And no one can look on him and survive, but like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were thrown into the fire, and there was a fourth person in the fire with them. And through that person giving them a covering, they weren't burnt up by the fire. However, the gods that threw them into the fire, they were burnt up. So when it talks about fire here, we're all like, oh, we're going to get burnt up. Not necessarily. The covering of Yeshua, you don't necessarily burn. So, and part of the remnant of the hair is thrown into the fire, so they are refined by the fire, maybe. That's the way I read that one verse. A part of the remnant he kept back are also thrown into the fire, so they tested by the fire, and do they come out purer, like pure gold or pure silver, you know?
He sits as a refiner of silver and gold to purify his people.
Yeah.
So the same sun that can give you total skin burn is also the same sun that makes the plant grow. And John the Baptist said, I baptize with water, but the one that comes after me baptizes with
Fire.
and
Fire and wood.
no, almost the fire and the ruach, because the ruach
Fire
is the
and spirit,
fire.
yeah.
And what is that fire? He baptizes us with fire. So in the churches, oh, fire from heaven, fall on you, and then you fall backwards and you scream like a monkey on the floor. No, the fire burns up inside of you, the fire for Yah, the fire of the ruach that came down like tongues, which was the same fire on the top of the mountain at Shavuot, but it's also the testing. Because everyone that follows him goes through some sort of a fire. So he comes and he baptizes you with his fire. A servant is not better than his master. I was persecuted, you will be persecuted, but endure to the end. Well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a little. I'll appoint you over much. Because fire does burn up when you are stubble and straw. But fire does not burn up gold and silver. So the Bible says your works will be tested by fire. If your works is done as stubble and straw, it will be burned up. But if it's done with gold and silver, it will survive. So what do we bring to him as sacrifices? Gold and silver? Well, real gold and real silver. Your Torah is purer than gold, 7 times refined. And we as the priests in Malachi, purified as Levitical priests through the fire. And that's why Daniel 11 says, the people that know their God will go through famine, sword, the fire and pestilence and persecution, but that will refine them. So we are scared of fire, sure, but we must also try to teach ourselves to know that it is Yahuwah's fire.
But it also for me, it talked about we don't fear fire. We fear the Father, not fire. And he potentially is fire in instances.
Yeah.
You know, he's represented as that fire that burns away impurity.
And that's what I said, the same with the Son. So the Father, who's fire, is either going to refine you or burn you up. So who do you fear more? It's like when we were in Egypt. You fear Pharaoh more, so you compromise. But you fear Yahuwah more, like the midwives. It says, because they feared Yahuwah, Yahuwah built them houses. So for them and their house, they worshipped Yahuwah. And Yahuwah kept them safe inside Egypt because they feared him more than Pharaoh, who commanded them to kill the babies. So it's beautiful. No, you're right. I see what you see there. The going through the fire. That's what he says. Oh, Jacob, my servant, I'll be with you even if you go through the fire. Verse 6. So verse 5 says, all of this that I'm talking about, now I'm telling you it's Jerusalem. You need to understand it's Jerusalem. She changed my judgments into wickedness. So Yahuwah's not interested in any other wife or any other New Testament bride. There's nothing like that. He's got a wife. He married her at Mount Sinai. She betrayed him. She has to be cleansed. And unfortunately, it's going to cost her to be in exile. Because if you look at the beautiful prayers just of Daniel, Nehemiah, Ezra, as they are in exile, Esther, Mordecai, they're in exile in Babylon. We are in exile in the Gentile nations. Listen to our beautiful prayers. Listen to how we understand what we did to him. There's no better bride than a wife that was divorced and exiled, shoved out of the house, who understands what she did out there. And she realized there's no, Yahuwah is my husband. There's nobody like him. For that bride to come back, you'll never find a better bride. That's what he wants. But how can we come back? The Torah says Yahuwah was married to Israel, so now Israel became a whore. So he can't marry her again, according to his own Torah.
But if you take the book of Hosea and his wife Gomer, then he has to keep taking her back, and he bought her back.
He redeemed her.
Yeah.
But according to the Torah, Yahuwah cannot break his own Torah. That was a beautiful picture. And indeed, he didn't divorce her.
As a slave on the block.
She was ready to be sold in slavery because of her whoring. Yeah. But the Torah specifically says, if a man divorces his wife, he cannot marry her again.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, you know the answer.
Yeshua had to die so that we can come back into covenant.
Why did he have to die? Why couldn't he just say, I forgive you, man. I'm almighty. I can forgive you. I can do whatever I want.
To his Torah, he can't take back a woman he's divorced.
Yeah, but why did he have to die? Number one, the blood. Without blood, there's no remission of sin. All right. Why else did he have to die?
Paid for it.
Sorry?
He paid for it. He paid for it to die with his own life.
Yeah, but why did he have to die? Why is death the wages of sin? Because death is the wages of sin. He can't just he can't just cut himself and give some blood. Okay, now I redeem you. The soul that sins must die. So that's number one, why he died. But number two, he said something very important in the Garden of Gethsemane. Let this cup pass from me. So now with this in mind, that we are looking for the ways in which the bridegroom is legally ensuring that the whoring wife can be cleansed and come back into covenant. Now you need to think about Torah again. What in the Torah about, what in the Torah speaks about a whoring wife and a cup?
Bitter cup, yeah.
What about the bitter cup?
Drinking from the bitter cup.
Well, if she had to drink the cup and then she would die.
If she was
If
whoring.
she was whoring.
Were we whoring?
Yes.
Yes. So if
So
we
he
drink,
had to drink the bitter cup, he would have died, so he died in our place.
if we drank it, we
Yeah,
would have died. So
yeah.
he died in our place. He said, let this cup pass from me if possible. Did Yahuwah let the cup pass? Because it wasn't possible. There's no other way for his whoring wife to come back than for him to drink the bitter cup. So that was in Numbers 5. You can read that. It's beautiful. Let's continue quickly. Let's see if we can get through. So verse 11. Wherefore, as I live, says Yahuwah, surely because you have defiled my sanctuary with all your detestable things and with all your abominations. Do you hear end time language? Absolute end time language. You want to say something?
No.
Okay, so let's quickly get some cross references. Matthew 24, verse 15. You get Tracy. Matthew 24, verse 15. Quintus. Daniel 9, verse 27. Margaret. Daniel 11, verse 31. Melissa. Ezekiel 8, verse 5. Please. So vir jou die volgende verse gee.
Ek het Afrikaans Bybel, gaan help jy.
O ja.
Sorry, Matthew
Matthew 24, verse 15.
15.
So let's wait till everyone has their verses before you read.
Daniel 11, what?
11, verse 31.
Ja, ek kon net Engels op my
9:27.
9:27, yeah. Is everyone there?
You said Ezekiel 8:5, right?
Yeah, you're there?
Yep.
Okay, don't read. Let's listen to the first verse. Matthew 24, verse 15. I just remind you, Ezekiel 5, verse 11. Because you defiled my sanctuary with all your detestable things, with all your abominations, therefore I will diminish you. My eye will not spare, I will not have pity. End day revelations. For us, applicable to us, we need to learn and understand so that we don't do the same in the end times. Okay.
Okay. Verse 15.
Mhm.
So when you see the abomination that lays waste, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, set up in the set apart place, he who reads, let him understand.
So we're going to read Daniel now as well. Okay, let's read Daniel first before we explain that. So it's the abomination that causes desolation in the
temple, the set apart place.
in the set apart place. What is desolation? Destruction. Oh, I'm so desolate. I'm so lonely. Empty. Hasn't Jerusalem and Samaria become desolate? The Bible says, I promise you, the Bible says the foxes and the jackals, they pee all over the place because it's just field. It's desolate, empty, wasted, destroyed. So the abomination here in Ezekiel caused the siege and eventually the desolation. And yet it is prophesied, Yeshua says, it is prophesied for the end days as well. Isn't that amazing? Okay, Daniel 9 verse 27.
And he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, and in the middle of the week he shall put an end to the slaughterings and meal offerings, and on the wing of abominations he shall lay waste, even until the complete end, that which is decreed is poured out on the one who lays waste.
So the laying of the waste is because of the abomination, on the wing of the abomination that's brought into the sanctuary of Jerusalem, the one that's making the covenant, this false covenant. He's also called the one that with flatteries will come to those who keep covenant to try and deceive them. And that abomination will cause desolation, and in that verse it's called to lay waste to the city. But like I asked you, what is Jerusalem? Is it just that city? No, Jerusalem is the bride. It's the church, the people of God, represented by the New Jerusalem. You have to come back because there's only 12 gates and the whole thing. So even the church of God is to be laid waste and to be desolate. And only those that is bound in his garments is going to be saved, and the Bible says plucked like a branch out of the fire. Remember when he's in Ezekiel 9, we're still going to get there, he sent the 6 angels through the city to destroy everyone, starting at his temple. Okay. Daniel 11 verse 31.
And the strong ones shall arise from him and profane the set apart place, the stronghold, and shall take away that which is continual, and set up the abomination that lays waste.
So it is an absolute defilement. So if you look at the Torah, look at everything that is defilement. It is blood, it is whoring, it is unkosher eating, because those things have massive spiritual reasons why Yahuwah doesn't allow it. One of the main reasons why there's always prostitutes at the pagan temples. And when you get to at Pan's temple, you had to prostitute with the goats, because Pan is a goat god. You had to do it with a goat, because that's worship to deities at that temple. And there's all this unclean food and stuff to eat, because by eating the unclean, you are separated from the God of Israel, because the entire pagan system is set up to be against the God of Israel. The entire pagan system, including Christianity, because they are set up in their traditions. When you look at what they do and how they live, they are following pagan traditions. So the entire world system is set up against this God. I had something to say. Give me a second. Out of my head. The same with what we talked about, the temple being us. So when the abominations, that which is an abomination to Yahuwah, if that is inside of your heart, your body, your DNA, your blood, your mouth, if that's inside of you, you are an abomination, and you will be desolate from Yahuwah. So we have to look at the Torah's definition of what is pure and what is an abomination, to really have a big picture of everything he doesn't want. Ezekiel 8:5.
Then he said to me, Son of man, look toward the north. So I looked, and in the entrance north of the gate of the altar I saw this idol of jealousy.
Now, some translations say the image of jealousy, the idol of jealousy. No wonder the image of the beast, according to the prophetic picture of Ezekiel, the image or the idol of jealousy, because Yahuwah is what? I am a jealous God. Therefore, you will not have any idols before me. So the image of jealousy, the image at not the pagan temple, they brought it it's almost like a middle finger in the face of God. At his temple, they bring in the image of jealousy. What did they bring into Yahuwah's most holy place?
Pig.
A pig.
But they were brought in by a prostitute army of apparently transvestites. That's what history says. Men in women's clothing, and they were homosexual.
To make the abominations even
That's
worse.
what they're doing today.
Yeah.
That's exactly. Who's teaching?
Into the church.
Who's teaching the Sunday schools in America right now?
It's the transvestites.
The queens. Yeah.
Can I read this?
Please.
Deuteronomy 32 verse 16. And they moved into jealousy with strange matters, with abominations they provoked.
Can I say something?
Well
I'm just
done.
gonna take
Excellent
this.
verse.
What you're saying brings it. You've got the for want of a better word, Trinity, which is the Father, Son, Spirit. However, I see it as the Spirit of the Father. Everyone's got their doctrine around that. But then you've got the Catholic Trinity, which all the daughters have gone after the mothers with, which is actually Hashatan, because he wanted worship. And so he has brought that worship of the Holy Spirit into the church. But to whom are we supposed to give our worship? To the Father.
In most
Not to the
churches,
Spirit.
You don't
Jesus
ever
is
hear about
worshipped.
Father.
in most churches, most of the songs that's being sung and the prayers are to Jesus.
But
But Yeshua said, it's our Father in my name, not to me.
But when he takes his throne, that changes. He's not on his throne.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's currently the high priest.
No, I was just going to say, when they ask Yeshua how they should pray, he doesn't say,
Yeah.
pray to me. He says,
My
pray to the
Father.
Father, our Father who art in heaven.
Yeah.
Hallowed be thy name.
Yeah.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Not me and my will. Don't pray to me, you pray to the Father.
Yeshua says, I am the only way back to the Father.
And why do we need sound doctrine over and over again in Proverbs?
Because of the whoring women.
Yeah, but it says that we don't fall for that doctrine. This is our doctrine, not what we're taught. If you go to Isaiah 28 to 30, he goes over the you must not listen to the doctrine of men, even learned men. In other words, even of his priests. You must seek it yourself. So
Precept upon precept. Line upon line.
Precept upon precept. He says it twice. So he says it, and then there's a line, and then he says it again. But before that, and I don't want to waste our time now, but if you go a few verses before that, he's very clear. You cannot take on the doctrine just because of the church.
But especially the doctrine of the so-called Trinity and the doctrine of the so-called Holy Ghost. Because she is a woman.
Well,
She is
that's what they also say, the Shekinah glory.
The Shekinah glory is a woman.
Yes.
So you look at the Shak, the Holy Ghost was a woman. And you look at the entire pagan Trinity. It's Father, Mother, and Child. So,
Which is what the Catholic Church, they took the Horus thing, or whatever pagan religion you're talking about, they took that so that you had Mary worship.
The Queen of Heaven. Which is ancient.
Goes into that so beautifully.
Ancient false doctrine.
Well,
Coming out of the Catholic Church, it was a big shock for him.
Well, that's the Queen of Heaven, which is now, what's her latest incantation? Mary.
But you know what made me leave the Catholic Church?
A little bit louder.
When I went to, I used to go to Northcliffe Catholic Church. And that was quite sort of conservative under our understanding of, Christianity. No idol worship, blah, blah, blah. Except the Stations of the Cross, they don't see as idol worship. Then I went one day with a friend to one of the, I can't remember the name of the church, but it's near Bryanston Church. And I walked in and they had the bones of Saint Teresa in the church. They were on an altar, and they gave this beautiful sermon, and then they all went and worshipped the bones. I was in my 30s. I had never seen that. The only place I'd seen that kind of stuff was in Spain and Portugal when I was traveling there. So to be in a Catholic church, having been raised Catholic, not believing in idolatry, and I see this, then I'm walking out the church and there are women lying on the floor on their bellies in their fancy dresses that you go to church in, arms around the statue of Mary. That's a porcelain statue.
So maybe you know this or not, but at least the cathedrals all have some relic in them under the altar. So probably the churches
They
as
cannot
well,
have an altar without some
without a
sort of
relic
human
somewhere
bones
under
under
it.
it.
Yeah, which
So
is
think
very-
about the Voortrekker monument.
Yeah.
What is the Voortrekker monument?
It's very pagan.
Is it not a pagan
Altars.
temple with an altar with bones?
Mm.
All right.
But that doesn't mean all the Voortrekkers were
No.
because
It's
with
like the
that came a
system.
very
It's
strong
not all the
legacy.
Catholics
Yeah.
that's in the system. It's the whole system that is. I mean, we were in the system of the church.
Yeah.
And we did all of these things, but when you Shema, then
But the daughters are following in the steps of their mother.
Yeah.
They've come back.
yeah.
If the Lutherans apologized to the Catholic Church on the 500th birthday or anniversary of Luther's thing, I mean, I'll just get goosebumps.
I mean, the Catholic Church is supposed to ask forgiveness for murdering millions of Jews and Christians.
Oh, that-
Now, the Protestant Church is asking forgiveness for what?
That's why you get Chrislam.
For actually accepting what Luther said.
Oh, I'm so sorry for accepting the truth.
Reformation.
Oh,
But
please
they're
forgive me.
apologizing for heresy,
Mm.
is what they're apologizing. And what is heresy?
I'm a heretic.
What's the
I'm a heretic.
well, what's heresy mean?
According to the Catholic Church. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
well,
were
what's the
heretics according
definition
to.
of heresy?
You don't accept the narrative. You
Well,
rebel.
Deciding for yourself.
You
what
rebel
believe.
against the
But
narrative.
according
Yeah.
to this, who's the heretic? It's that double thing all the time.
Yeah. Paul says in Acts 24 verse 14, I am a heretic according what you call the cult of the way. What am I doing as a heretic in your eyes? I'm obeying the God of my father. I'm obeying the Torah, and I believe in the God of my fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. There's still a lot more, but I think our time is over. So, happiness? What's the conclusion of the matter?
I'm not going to speak tonight because it's exciting.
What's the conclusion of the matter of Ezekiel 5?
Okay.
For me, the fact that everything he promised, everything he warned here happened.
And it's going to happen again.
Besides that, the fact that this is written up in history, not just in Christian history, but in world history, which means it happened, confirms that this book is true. Now, if this book is true, according to this historical event, and this is prophetic, and I see the prophecy in Matthew and Daniel and Revelation and all over the place, then I know for a fact it's going to happen again. So what will our witness be in the end days? Because we're going to be afraid of the fire and of Pharaoh and of all the persecution. But we want his fire to make us ready to witness for him. Because it's going to happen. He's going to destroy everybody. But I so much want to be part of that remnant. So I need to learn from history to change. So maybe I'm too much to say, oh, there's baby cells in vaccines. Oh, I'm too much to say, oh, I don't want to be genetically mixed, so I'm not going to be taking all these digital and microchips. Oh, and I'm not going to worship on Sunday because it's spiritual mixing. Maybe I'm too much. But I'd rather be bang Jan than dooie Jan. I'd rather be scared martyr than dead martyr. So I'd rather be too much. And I look at everything he calls an abomination, and I try to keep away from that. Especially the spiritual abominations. So for me, the conclusion of the matter is, one day when I meet Ezekiel, I'm going to say, thank you so much. I don't know how you did it. Tracy could hardly sleep on her side for 15 minutes. I don't know how you did it. But we learned from you, Ezekiel.
Yeah, well, it was just spiritual.
Yeah, according to the church. We sat around a Sabbath table and we learned from you, Ezekiel. Thank you for doing that. You helped us understand. For you?
No, I just going back to that first verse about the hair and the beard and the cutting and whatever, and two things. One, I went down a little rabbit hole and I was reading something about Kabbalah, and I'm like, no, these people, that was a little bit too much. But It was a rabbit hole. But I found a verse, and I wanted to end on this. Now I'm feeling all emotional, but I wanted to end on this verse. It's Proverbs 16, verse 31, and it has to do with hair. And it says, "Grey hair is a crown of adorning. It is found in the way of righteousness." And I thought about Yada and John. So we should all hope we go grey, because it's found in righteousness.
It's part of life.
It is.
Amen.
Amen.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, and what, next month we're back on our regularly scheduled program.
No. Next month it's someone else. Who's going to take next month? Ezekiel 6.
No, you can't volunteer people. That's not fair.
You want your hand?
Oh, your hand went. Oh, John,
Hand went up.
I'm
No, come on.